My name is Tiana Gold, and I'm an interior designer at Element Architects. I went to Washington State University. I'm fortunate to live in downtown, so I walk through Pike's Place Market every morning. I'm not kidding you. Past the flying fish and everything. This is just a wonderful lifestyle to be that close to my job.
The thing is that this is beautiful, and I think it actually works really well with the palette. But
what I really love about my job is that it's fun. It's a challenge every day. Every project you work on is completely different, so you're always learning.
They have it on a wall, like wrapping a corner, and it looks really beautiful, and I think that's where he fell in love with it.
It's fun to pick out finishes. It's fun to lay out spaces. It's fun to get engaged with the client group and actually see how you're going to affect people in the end.
That's perfect.
So most of the time I'm spending hammering out some of the finishes, I'd say about 15%, but most of it is actually being on the computer, drawing elevations, checking RCPs, making sure the finishes are laid out correctly.
And the same with this one. This one's been placed on a sheet.
So it's kind of looking at how the product will be used in the end. And is it going to be functional? Is it going to be a stark white space that nobody wants to be in? Or is it going to be a warm, inviting space that people are going to be engaged and active and be involved with? So the Paul Allen building is for computer engineers at the University of Washington. The space that LMN designed has warm finishes. It has a really active atrium that is always full of students that are, hanging out and chatting. In the center are all the student lab spaces adjacent to the graduate offices. And by putting the windows in on both sides, you can get daylight from the atrium penetrate all the way into the lab spaces, which is nice as well. When people think green, when your client comes to you about green, they're thinking that you're picking, recycled content carpet, but it's beyond that. We're looking at indoor air quality, we're looking at lighting, we're looking at how to keep the energy efficiency low, how to keep the water levels low. We're very fortunate in the Northwest to have just this beautiful environment around us, and I want it to stay that way.
Really two ways to do it. You keep that stair going up, and you run it through the roof, and then there's a public.
What I really enjoyed about the program when I was at WSU is it made you be a conceptual thinker.
What do you think?
Another thing that I really enjoyed about WSU's program was the interdisciplinary school, which basically brings together architects, landscape architects, and construction management students, as well as interior designers within one facility. The program at WSU definitely makes you excited to be an interior designer. It seems like the graduates are always grabbed up. It gets you ready to literally walk out the door and just go for it because you're just so engaged and so, energized by the program. I'm a Coug through and through. I bleed crimson. Go Cougs!
When you think of a city, we tend to think of streets, but really those are public right-of-ways. And it's public property just like any park. And one of the things that I think is exciting about landscape is you get to shape not just parks, but that public realm, which is really the experience you'll have from the second you walk outside the door of a building to wherever you arrive at your next destination. Landscape architects really get to drive that. My name's Guy Michelson, and I'm a landscape architect. People think it's just making beautiful gardens for people, and that can be a part of the profession, and it can be a great part of the profession. But really what engages me about the profession is the diversity of work you can do. Think of it as outdoor architecture, because once you remove the landscape thing, I think you start to remove that thought that it's just plants. It really is designing everything out of doors.
The goal from the very start was to create a piece of forest right in the heart of the city and to immerse people that come to the REI store in what REI calls the REI experience. There's little secret areas like this where they can do demonstrations of products. There's the mountain bike test trail, there's the waterfall, and it's the way that everyone gets into the store.
The fact that a lot of these things actually get built and I'm able to point to them and say, I helped do that, that's just gravy. That's part of the reward. But it's really more the act of being able to shape a community that I think is really exciting.
What you're looking at over in this direction is really the future of what the Cascade neighborhood's becoming with lots of new residents and multifamily housing.
Landscape architecture is a great field. It's really exciting, and it's also a growing field. It's growing not only in terms of the need for landscape architects and the role of landscape architects participating on more projects, to actually getting more and more diverse all the time. I love those beams through there. Those are really cool. In my experience, the WSU landscape department is that they are very hands-on, and what you get is not only a good background in design, but an incredibly valuable nuts and bolts education that allows you to hit the ground running when you graduate. It's not just high design ideals, but it's really practical knowledge that makes you productive from day one as you graduate. Once a Cougar, always a Cougar. There is just a camaraderie amongst Cougs that I just have never seen amongst any other group of alums.
So they're taking up a slope. Yeah, here. Yeah, it's a 9 feet.
Go Cougs!
My name is Crystalline K. Kokorowski, and I'm a handbag designer. I'm walking down the street and someone's carrying one of my bags. It's really hard for me to not want to go up and talk to them because it's still really, really exciting to see my bags out in the world. These are some magazines that my bags have been featured in. Martha Stewart's magazine, it's called Body and Soul, In Style magazine. I was in Lucky magazine. This is a style that had kind of a sashy hobo with a little ring that went over the top of it. So this is one that I'm working on. Maybe by fall, we'll see. I think that it's kind of funny when people ask, you know, well, did you go to school for this? Like, how do you learn to do this? And I'm like, yeah, I went to WSU and they have a apparel design program there. And they're like, really? In Pullman? I think the program at WSU was incredible for AMT because it gave me a good range of different topics that I might encounter in any realm of working with apparel or merchandising or really retail in general. How's it going? Good. Some more treasures for you. I started out just selling to stores here in Seattle, but I also sell to other stores around the country. So there are stores in Portland, San Francisco, San Diego, LA, New York, Boston. That was like my secret dream in the back of my head that maybe someday I could do my own thing. And so I'm thrilled that I've actually been able to do it. In school, I learned the retail math. I learned how to do pattern making. I understand a little bit of the psychological and societal impact of what someone wears and how that translates your image and your personality to someone. I love living in Seattle, but my whole family is a bunch of Huskies, so I get lots of grief and heckling, except for this most recent Apple Cup, so that was very fun. Probably one of my favorite memories was I participated in the fashion show. And that was really fun to finally see all the things that I learned in school come together on how it all worked together for the big picture. For me, I chose to design for the fashion show, which it wasn't my major, but it just seemed really fun and I wanted to try it. The teachers are able to see what you excel in, or even something that you're struggling with, and they'll say, hey, well, let's try this, or let's try that. And just being able to focus on the basics of don't get wrapped up in all the hype and the magazines and the celebrities and that kind of thing. We're talking about how a garment goes together and all the components that it takes to put it together. Make sure that the materials you're using are quality and that they'll hold up. The program in AMT definitely helped me to be able to be prepared to make something that's like my dream bag or something that I think would be so awesome, and to be able to make it and then have other people buy it from you and make a living doing that is really rewarding. Go Cougs!